Nobody talks about what happens when a narcissist loses control. Welcome to DarkMind Academy. Most people think narcissists are powerful because they're confident, but confidence isn't what makes them dangerous. What makes them dangerous is what happens when that confidence is threatened. Because beneath the grand image, beneath the arrogance, beneath the superiority complex, there is something most people never see. A fragile ego that cannot tolerate losing. And when that ego gets wounded, the mask begins to crack. What emerges is something psychologists call narcissistic rage. And once you understand it, you'll never look at certain people the same way again. Imagine this. Someone is used to controlling every conversation, used to being admired, used to getting their way, used to having people walk on eggshells around them. Then one day someone says no. Someone challenges them. Someone ignores them. Someone stops feeding their need for attention. To a healthy person, this is a minor inconvenience. To a narcissist, it can feel like an attack on their entire identity, because their self-worth is built on external validation. Without constant reinforcement, the image they've created begins to collapse, and that collapse creates rage. Not ordinary anger, not frustration, rage. The kind that appears completely disproportionate to the situation. You might wonder why someone would explode over something so small. A disagreement, a criticism, a boundary, a delayed text message, a simple rejection. The answer lies in how narcissists see themselves. Most people have a stable sense of self. Their confidence rises and falls, but it remains relatively intact. A narcissist often depends on an illusion, an image of perfection, an image of superiority, an image of being special. When reality challenges that image, the brain treats it as a threat, and threatened people become defensive. Threatened narcissists become destructive. This is why narcissistic rage often seems irrational, because you're responding to the event. They're responding to what the event represents. The event is small. The wound to their ego feels massive, and that difference changes everything. One of the most common triggers of narcissistic rage is criticism. Even constructive criticism. Even criticism delivered respectfully. You might think you're helping. You might think you're being honest. You might think you're solving a problem. But to someone whose identity depends on appearing flawless, criticism feels unbearable. Instead of processing the feedback, they attack the source. Instead of reflecting, they retaliate. Instead of accepting responsibility, they search for someone to blame. Suddenly, the conversation is no longer about their mistake. It's about your attitude, your tone, your flaws, your past, anything that shifts attention away from them. This is why arguments with narcissists often feel impossible. The goal is not truth. The goal is protection. Protection of the ego at all costs. And once that ego feels threatened, logic becomes irrelevant. Another trigger is rejection. Few things wound a narcissist more deeply than being rejected. Not because they loved you, not necessarily because they cared, but because rejection challenges the belief that they are superior, that they are irresistible, that they are entitled to your attention. When someone walks away, the narcissist loses control, and control is oxygen to them. Without it, panic begins. That panic quickly transforms into rage. This is why some narcissists become obsessed after a breakup. Not because they're heartbroken, because their ego is injured. They need to restore the image. They need to regain power. They need to prove that they still matter. And the lengths they go to can be shocking. Some will insult you. Some will spread rumors. Some will attempt to make you jealous. Some will suddenly become the perfect person you always wanted. Not because they've changed, because they're trying to repair their wounded pride. Narcissistic rage can also appear in subtle forms. Many people expect screaming. Many expect threats. Many expect dramatic confrontations. But some narcissists are far more calculated. Instead of exploding, they freeze you out. They withdraw affection. They punish you with silence. They create emotional distance. They become cold, detached, unreachable. This is still rage. It's simply expressed differently. The objective remains the same. To make you suffer for challenging their sense of superiority. To remind you who holds power. To make you question yourself. To make you chase approval again. And this is where many victims get trapped. Because they mistake cruelty for confidence. They mistake manipulation for strength. They mistake dominance for competence. But true strength does not require punishment. True confidence does not require revenge. True power does not crumble under criticism. Think about that. The people who appear strongest are often the ones least threatened by disagreement. The people who appear most powerful are often the ones least obsessed with control. Narcissistic rage reveals weakness disguised as strength. A person secure in themselves doesn't need to destroy others to feel valuable. A person secure in themselves doesn't need constant admiration. A person secure in themselves can tolerate being wrong. That is why narcissistic rage is so revealing. It exposes what the mask was hiding all along: fragility. The narcissist spends years constructing an image of perfection, an image of importance, an image of superiority. Rage appears when reality threatens that image, and reality always wins eventually. One of the most dangerous aspects of narcissistic rage is projection. Projection occurs when someone attributes their own flaws to others. The narcissist who lies constantly accuses everyone else of dishonesty. The narcissist who manipulates accuses others of manipulation. The narcissist who seeks control claims they're being controlled. This tactic serves two purposes. First, it protects the ego. Second, it creates confusion. And confusion is a weapon, because confused people become easier to control. The more time you spend defending yourself, the less time you spend questioning them. This is why victims often feel exhausted. They enter conversations expecting resolution. They leave questioning reality. The rules keep changing. The accusations never stop. And somehow the narcissist always becomes the victim, even when they're the aggressor. Especially when they're the aggressor. Narcissistic rage also escalates when public image is threatened. Remember, image is everything. A narcissist can tolerate many things, but humiliation is rarely one of them. If their reputation is challenged, their reaction can become extreme. Because public embarrassment threatens the identity they've spent years creating. The larger the audience, the larger the perceived threat. And the larger the threat, the more intense the rage. This explains why some narcissists become vicious when exposed, why they launch smear campaigns, why they recruit allies, why they rewrite history, why they attack credibility. They're not merely defending themselves. They're defending the illusion, and illusions are expensive to maintain. Eventually, many victims ask the same question. Can narcissistic rage be fixed? The answer is complicated. Change is possible, but only when someone recognizes the problem. And recognition requires accountability. Unfortunately, accountability is often what narcissists resist most, because accountability requires admitting imperfection. It requires confronting uncomfortable truths. It requires dismantling the very defenses that protect the ego. Without genuine self-awareness, change remains unlikely. This is why many people spend years waiting for transformation that never arrives. They mistake promises for progress, words for actions, apologies for accountability. But genuine change is measured through behavior, not speeches, not emotions.